Thousands are dead, markets are bleeding. Right now, as you're watching this video, two nations are going to war. We could be on the brink of World War III. The US is already picking sides. Military aid is flowing. And if the US gets dragged into it, it won't just be a regional conflict anymore. So, what will this mean for the crypto markets? What will this mean for your portfolio? And most importantly, what should you be doing right now? Let's talk about it. What's happening right now isn't just another news flash. We're talking about real families, real lives. Entire regions are being torn apart. This isn't happening in isolation. The US has already committed billions in military aid to Israel. There are already naval assets in the region. Politicians everywhere are talking tough. Russia's watching closely, and China is calculating its next move. Right now, we're sitting at a crossroads. It all depends on whether the US fully commits to joining the war or not. The US not joining the war is the best case scenario, obviously. The conflict will remain regional. We will see some short-term volatility in the markets. Oil prices could rise. Your portfolio will take a beating for a few weeks, but everything will slowly recover once people realize the world isn't ending. Not the best outcome, but it's very manageable, and probably the best outcome we could hope for. If America decides to fully commit to joining the war for whatever reason, it will be all-out chaos. Maybe an American soldier comes home in a body bag, or a terrorist attack occurs on US soil. Whatever the reason is, if we go down this path, we're not just talking about your favorite altcoins dumping. We're talking about global chaos, maybe even World War III. When the US backs someone in war, they're not just sending thoughts and prayers. They back them with everything: money, weapons, intelligence, and boots on the ground. We've seen this play out in the past: Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. It's always the same. When America goes to war, the entire global economy is affected. Defense contractors moon, oil prices go up, the strength of the dollar changes, depending on safe haven money movement or massive deficit spending. As for the crypto markets, it depends on the perception of the general public. It depends whether people see it as a risk asset or a hedge against uncertain times. If the US does fully commit to war, there will definitely be some emergency economic policies put into place. Rationing of food and resources, price controls, maybe even restrictions on capital. In that scenario, decentralized money won't just be a tech experiment. It will be a necessity. Bitcoin is often called digital gold. It should be a digital safe haven for when everything goes to hell. Unfortunately, during fear and panic, no one thinks logically. They flee to what they are familiar with: physical cash, gold bars, silver bars, maybe some Bitcoin. But that's not guaranteed. Bitcoin and crypto are still treated like tech stocks. When panic strikes, my guess is that most people will be panic selling. Sell first, ask questions later. But when the dust settles, that's when Bitcoin tends to shine. Especially if governments start printing money and sanctions start being implemented everywhere. Look at what happened during the 2020 pandemic. The initial crash was brutal, but then the Fed printed trillions and Bitcoin went from $4,000 to $69K. War spending could trigger the same money printing cycle. This war is still in its early stages. If it does escalate, there is a high probability that Iran will interfere with oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. A third of the world's natural gas and almost 25% of the world's oil consumption passes through this location. It is a highly important strategic location for international trade. We could see oil prices skyrocket. If the US is directly involved in the war, there will be massive fuel consumption and supply chain disruptions. This means inflation could go crazy once again. Central banks will panic, print money, and hike rates. Everything becomes a risk-off environment. Bitcoin miners will get crushed in the short term as energy costs go through the roof. But in the long term, Bitcoin is a currency that can't be weaponized, making it an attractive choice. If we're talking about an extended conflict, Energy infrastructures will become a target. Centralized systems become vulnerable. This is when decentralized assets start to make a lot more sense. When people see headlines about airstrikes or nuclear threats, they won't be calmly sitting there analyzing their portfolios. They will panic and they will sell. Crypto gets hit hard because it's the most volatile. We've seen this exact pattern throughout history, not just in the crypto markets, in all markets. Pearl Harbor in 1941, traditional markets crashed 10% in the following weeks, but by 1943, we saw new all-time highs. During 9/11, the Dow dropped 14% in just 1 week. Everyone thought the world was ending. It recovered in 6 months. In 2008, during the Great Financial Crisis, markets fell over 50%. But even then, 4 years later, we saw a full recovery. And most recently, March of 2020, during the pandemic, everything crashed over 35% in a month. People were literally hoarding toilet paper. The recovery started 3 weeks later. The Gulf War, Iraq War, Afghanistan. It's all the same story. Initial panic, massive sell-offs, then recovery and all-time highs. World War II was the biggest conflict in human history. And guess what? From 1942 to 1945, markets went up 50%. You see what I'm getting at, right? The pattern's always the same. Fear creates sell-offs, but the panic always fades. And the people who stay cool are always rewarded. The key difference with crypto is the volatility. The volatility amplifies everything. The crashes are bigger, but the recoveries are bigger too. This is not financial advice, but this is what I would do. If the US continues staying on the sidelines, it's still very likely that we stick to the usual 4-year cycle, and the bull run will peak towards the end of the year or early next year. I will continue to dollar cost average. I see this short-term dip as an opportunity to accumulate more Bitcoin and altcoins. I will continue adding to my bags and getting ready to cash out when the market starts heating up. However, if the US fully commits to the war, the markets will crash hard initially, and who knows when they will recover. The bull run could be delayed by 1 year, 2 years, who knows. Crypto has never experienced a world war before. If that scenario plays out, I will still continue to buy. I would focus mainly on Bitcoin, however, since it is the oldest and most battle-tested crypto and has the highest chance of breaking all-time highs when everything is said and done. The other altcoins are too uncertain and risky, in my opinion. Another thing to keep in mind, if we are headed into a period of prolonged war, start thinking about which cryptos actually solve real problems. Privacy coins, decentralized storage, censorship-resistant communication. The speculative projects might get crushed, but the utility coins could thrive. The key is to keep a level head and keep your emotions under control. War is terrible, but historically, it's one of the best times to build generational wealth. Bitcoin was born from the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis, and now it's about to get tested in an even darker scenario. War brings death and fear, but it also exposes the cracks in the system. Central bank manipulation, censorship, government control. It's the very reason Bitcoin was created in the first place. Not just as an investment, but as an escape plan. If the US does indeed get involved with this ongoing conflict, there will be unprecedented government spending, massive money printing, potential capital controls. It's possible the US dollar might stay strong in the short term because it's still the reserve asset currency. But in the long term, all that debt has to be paid off somehow. It'll be paid through taxes, which kills economic growth, or it will be paid through inflation, which kills purchasing power. Either way, hard assets will be performing well, and we all know Bitcoin is the hardest asset ever created. I hope I'm wrong about all this. I really don't want to see a world war. I would much rather the bull run come earlier rather than later, but one can only hope. Geopolitics are out of our control, but they affect our money nonetheless. As we approach times of uncertainty, decentralized money isn't just important, it's essential. Stay safe out there, guys, and remember, this too shall pass. But the lessons we learn and the decisions we make during this time will stick around. The world is changing fast and you need to be ready for what comes next. Anyways, that's it from me today. What do you think? Are you buying the dip or waiting on the sidelines? How are you positioning yourself for the potential of US involvement in this war? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to follow the channel. Thank you for watching and take care.